first few schools I've spoken at, I think it, yeah, now that I think of it, I think it was a kindergarten at the Horace Mann Elementary. I do remember also speaking, it was at Redmond Elementary, and I have spoken. A lot of my first speeches were to kindergarten students and elementary school students.
Okay, so what's your feeling when you were doing your first class, the formal class?
It was really exciting, and I always love getting on a stage and getting all the students excited and getting their ideas. So it was definitely a lot of adrenaline. It was much like a sports event almost, only a little more academic.
So I think there are a lot of slides on your, during your teach, and you use this kind of high-tech stuff. This kind of, slides you're developed by yourself only?
Yeah, I do develop the slides. I also, I definitely share them with my family and friends and get ideas and say, is there anything I could add to this that you think would make it better? But I do develop my slides, and I always look over them very carefully to make sure if they're all really contributing to the learning, because I don't want to have too much stuff to click through and that to kind of bog it down. And another thing that I also really enjoy doing is sometimes improvising. And a lot of what I said during response to literature, if I saw the students maybe didn't get something, I would say something else and try to bring home for them. And so I think it's important for me, because often in the beginning days of my teaching, I would have like 150 slides, and I would think, well, this is too much PowerPoint. And so I want to make sure that each slide is pretty meaningful and really helps the student.
So, because when we're talking about teaching, there are teaching techniques involved. Otherwise, there will not be some education, professional training for the teacher. Did you get any kind of specific training, or how do you develop your teaching skill?
I would say a lot of it was practice. I do want to study education when I go to college, but as far as formal training, I didn't have too much. I would say a lot of it was practice makes perfect. Not that I'm saying I'm perfect, but because I have done over 300 video conferences and given so many speeches, that really helps contribute to the teaching techniques that I use. I see what works, I see what doesn't, and I really work with the students in action, and that helps give me a training that is sometimes lacking inside a classroom, and so I think that the really on-the-ground training is quite important.
Okay, when watching you doing the video conference, you are talking about the snapping, today's topic, right?
Snappy beginning?
Yes, and you are talking about a lot of tricks and stuff while writing a thing, like writing an introduction. You are talking about using rhetoric questions or using a scenario. And this kind of thing you are learning from the specific writing book, tell you how to write, or you are learning from your readings?
A lot of it is from my readings. A lot of it I've also learned in school, and I'm kind of sharing that. And much of this I've just learned at an early age. I've heard these words used. I watch the news quite a bit when they're talking about rhetoric, rhetorical questions, and I've always been very curious about that kind of thing. And so I do read a lot about writing in various books. I learn in school, and I also, it's definitely a lot of practice. When I put these to use in my own essays, when I put these to use in my own responses to literature, I think that's how I learn.
Okay, so because you are doing the essay stuff, and the teacher will grade it, right? And the teacher will grade your essays.
Yeah.
So do you still remember the lowest grades you have ever got on your writings?
Lowest grade I've ever gotten on my writings. Let's see. I remember my grades this year. This is pretty terrible. Okay, so I had turned in my first draft of my research paper, and I got 100 out of 100. My final draft, I was traveling, and I completely forgot about the final draft. And so I come home, and I look at my grade, and I think, a C? No, I had an A. And I go into my online school, and I realize I didn't turn in the final draft. The final draft is 400 points, and it's like a quarter of the entire score that year. And I got a 0 because I didn't turn it. So then I turned it in, and the teacher was like, that's okay, I understand that you were traveling. And I believe I got a 300 something out of 400 because I formatted my bibliography incorrectly. I got some points docked off. But other than that, she said the body of the essay was great.
Okay, so you're always, basically most times you are making the 4 points.
Yes.
Regarding.
Mostly.
Mostly, based on
Sometimes my pet peeve is occasionally I'll get formatting incorrect. So with the bibliography, I'm always kind of a slacker on indenting here. But other than that, I usually get everything.
Okay. So as you finished your last books almost 1 and 2 years ago, so what book are you still working on right now?
Well, right now I am, one thing that actually my mom proposed and that I've been really interested in, I write quite a bit of commentary on my blog. Sometimes I'll write about teaching students, occasionally I'll post videos, and a lot of times I'll write these essays complaining about various parts of life. For instance, shoe shopping. I wrote one about shoe manufacturers and what they should do in order to get me to buy their shoes. And this kind of commentary, I think I would love to maybe have that published in all the humorous things, and I think that people might enjoy reading that.
Okay, so do you have any kind of timeline for this stuff?
Not really too much. I don't usually set strict deadlines or anything, but mostly right now it's just a lot of ideas that are sort of formulating in my brain, and once I have a more solid plan, I might write kind of an outline for it.
Okay, so you also talked that you are really interested in watching news, and when you care about the world news or those political news, would you write, any comments on that?
I do write quite a bit of commentary on politics. Actually, recently I made a video about the healthcare bill on YouTube. I do a lot of video commentary, and I follow politics quite very avidly. I watch World News Dinosaur every night, and I watch CNN on my computer, so I'm kind of a news junkie.
News junkie?
Yes.
Wow. So what's your favorite news program?
My favorite news program, I love World News Dinosaur. I watched it back when it was with Charlie Gibson as well, and I love that. I really like all the evening news ones. The only reason I watch World News is because I guess it's at 5:30, and so it's gonna be that. So I love the World News. I think that they do a wonderful job, and yeah.
So if you select the latest political topics and give a comment, what will you do? The latest topic.
The latest topics. Well, let's see. With the oil spill.
Okay, just give me an example.
Yeah, I think President Obama had bad timing with the offshore drone announcement, and then the explosion happened. That was definitely bad timing. But on a deeper level, I think that with offshore drilling, although it does create jobs, the possibility if, say, a rig explodes, and I have heard that there's a lot of danger involved with offshore drilling, then the job is lost with the shrimpers and the fishers and the animals and the damage it will do to the marine ecosystem. I think that danger is far greater than any potential of wealth that we can find from oil. And what's more, I think that if we expand offshore drilling, that will not do so much to wean us off oil as it will to make us more dependent on it.
Cool. Okay, so is there any